Hi, I'm Danny Ecker with your Chicago Business Today midday report. Election day is here, but aside from the presidential primary, voting today could have a major impact on how some Chicago areas get their power. More than 200 communities around northern Illinois will decide whether to allow their local governments to buy electricity in bulk. If they do, about 40% of power purchased by ComEd, which is sold for well above wholesale market prices, could be handed over to competing suppliers in just months. And for more, I'm joined by Crain senior reporter Steve Daniels. Steve, what kind of savings are we talking about, and what areas could it be most affected?
Well, I mean, all over suburban Chicagoland is where these referendums are being held today. We're talking about savings for the average consumer, in the 15% on your total bill, right around there, which is not small.
Your best handicap here, how likely is it from what you've heard that some of these things are going to go through?
I think most of them will go through. I mean, the wild card is whether these suburban communities have done a very good job of educating their residents on what they're voting on. Sometimes people see a ballot initiative, don't understand it, either don't vote on it or vote against it because they're just not sure what its effect will be. So that's the one wild card. But otherwise, I expect the majority of these to go through. We've got some very, very large communities in which power is likely to be taken from ComEd and given to competing suppliers. We're talking about Aurora, this is the second largest community in the state. Elgin, very large suburb, Waukegan, Evanston, ones like that.
All right, and if there's one thing people know, it's the power of group buying here in Chicago, so we'll see what happens.
Indeed.
Thanks, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Elsewhere today, Abbott Labs is suing to bar a generic drug maker from producing a version of one of its cholesterol drugs. They're aiming to keep Watson Pharmaceuticals from commercializing its niacin drug for over 2 years. It's the generic version of Abbott's Niaspan, which had about $1.2 billion in sales for the year ended January 31st. Watson has capitalized big time on undercutting brand name drugs before. Its fourth quarter profits soared from sales of its low-cost generic version of Lipitor. And Chicago area real estate stocks are on a roll to start 2012. An index of 7 local REITs returned about 7.5% through mid-March, as investors are betting on rising demand for commercial property, although that trails the 8.6% growth for all REITs nationwide, according to SNL Financial. Shares are way up for some strong local players, including First Industrial Realty Trust and Strategic Hotels and Resorts. Each jumped at least 19% this year. Demand has been strong for apartments over the past 2 years with a scrambling single-family home market, but analysts say that it will slow with a housing recovery and construction of more apartment buildings. And that's what's happening in Chicago business today. Follow us on Twitter at @CrainChicago for breaking news throughout the day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.